Welcome to the Hydrohaven YT channel. Today we're exploring a fascinating collection of forgotten vegetables that medieval farmers once cultivated extensively. These nutritious, resilient crops sustained generations through harsh conditions and limited resources, yet most have disappeared from our modern gardens and plates. By reintroducing these time-tested vegetables, you'll not only diversify your garden, but also rediscover unique flavors and nutritional profiles largely absent in today's food system. Let's dive into these forgotten treasures and learn how to bring them back to life in our gardens. Root vegetables and tubers. Skirret, also known as Sium cisarum. Once a staple in medieval European gardens, skirret produces clusters of sweet white roots resembling small parsnips. Henry VIII was reportedly fond of this perennial vegetable that grows well in partial shade and returns year after year. The roots taste like a cross between parsnip and potato with hints of coconut, making them excellent roasted or in stews. Start from seed or root divisions in early spring in well-drained but moist soil. Harvest after the first frost when sugars concentrate in the roots. Hamburg parsley or Petroselinum crispum var tuberosum. Not just a leafy herb but a dual-purpose vegetable, Hamburg parsley was common in medieval kitchens. While its leaves provided seasoning, its large white roots were the main attraction, eaten roasted in soups or fermented for winter storage. Plant seeds in early spring, keeping soil consistently moist, and harvest the roots after 3 to 4 months when they reach 6 to 8 inches long. Scorzonera, also known as Scorzonera hispanica. Known as black salsify, this medieval root vegetable produces long dark-skinned roots with creamy white flesh that was valued for its oyster-like flavor when cooked. Particularly popular during Lenten periods when meat was forbidden, Scorzonera thrives in deep, loose soil and actually improves in flavor after exposure to frost. Plant seeds in early spring and harvest in late fall or even the following spring for sweeter roots. Krosnies, also known as Stachys affinis. These small, spiral-shaped tubers resemble little pearly shells and were cultivated in medieval monastery gardens. With a flavor reminiscent of artichoke hearts and water chestnuts, Krosnies were valued for their crisp texture whether eaten raw or lightly sautéed. To grow them, plant the tubers in spring about 2 inches deep and harvest in late fall after the foliage dies back. Turnip-rooted chervil or Carophyllum bulbosum. Unlike its delicate herb cousin, this variety of chervil develops aromatic roots that medieval farmers prized for their chestnut-like flavor. Requiring cold stratification, seeds should be sown in fall to germinate the following spring. The gray-brown roots are harvested after the foliage dies back and develop their best flavor after exposure to frost. Good King Henry, scientifically known as Chenopodium bonus henricus. This perennial leafy green was a medieval kitchen garden staple, nicknamed poor man's asparagus. Its arrow-shaped leaves and young shoots can be harvested throughout the growing season. The tender spring shoots are prepared like asparagus, while mature leaves cook similarly to spinach but with more substance. Alexander's, also known as Smyrnium olusatrum or black lovage in medieval times, was quite the versatile plant. Every part of it was utilized: the celery-like stems, parsley-flavored leaves, myrrh-scented flowers, and even the black seeds that resemble pepper. Roman legionaries spread Alexander's throughout Europe, recognizing its value as both a medicinal and culinary herb. If you're thinking of growing it, aim for well-drained soil in sun or partial shade, and start from fresh seed in the fall. Next up, we have Salad Burnet or Sanguisorba minor. This plant boasts cucumber-flavored leaves that stay green all year round, making it a staple in medieval salads and cold drinks. Its ability to thrive in poor soil conditions made it especially valuable in peasant gardens. The young leaves are rich in vitamin C, and they were often used to prevent scurvy. Lastly, let's talk about fat hen, also known as Chenopodium album. Though it's now often considered a weed, fat hen was once actively cultivated in medieval gardens. It was a reliable leafy green, producing enormous amounts of nutrition from minimal space. In fact, it's higher in protein, calcium, and vitamins B1 and B2 than cabbage. Often, it was mixed with less abundant grains to make nourishing bread. To grow fat hen, sow seeds in the spring in fertile soil, harvest the young leaves continuously, and allow some plants to produce seeds, which are similar to quinoa. Orach or Atriplex hortensis is available in green, red, and gold varieties. It was the primary leafy vegetable in European gardens before spinach became widespread. With a mild, slightly salty flavor, it thrives in conditions that would challenge most greens and produces abundantly throughout summer when lettuce tends to bolt. Sow seeds directly after the danger of frost and harvest young leaves continuously, allowing some plants to self-seed for subsequent years. Cardoon, or Cinera cardunculus, is related to artichokes but grown for their stalks rather than flower buds. Cardoons were prestigious vegetables in medieval noble gardens. The blanched stalks have a flavor similar to artichoke hearts with hints of celery. Start seeds indoors 8 weeks before the last frost, transplant after the danger of frost, and in fall, wrap the stems with paper or cloth for 3 to 4 weeks to blanch before harvesting. Lovage, or Levisticum officinale, is a tall perennial that was found in virtually every medieval garden, providing celery-flavored stems, leaves, and seeds. Growing up to 6 feet tall, lovage was used both as a vegetable and as a flavoring. The hollow stems were candied, young leaves used in salads, and seeds employed as a spice. Plant in rich, moist soil in spring, and this long-lived perennial will produce for many years with minimal maintenance. Sea kale, or Cram maritima, was highly prized in medieval coastal communities. It produces blanched stems and leaves with a flavor that combines asparagus and cabbage. The naturally blanched spring shoots emerging through sandy soil were particularly valued. To grow sea kale, plant seeds or root cuttings in well-drained soil mixed with sand, and cover emerging shoots with pots or soil to maintain blanching. Salsify, or Tragopagon porifolius, known as the vegetable oyster for its distinctive flavor when cooked, was widely grown in medieval Europe. Unlike its cousin Scorzonera, it has lighter-colored roots but is prepared similarly. The surprising feature medieval gardeners utilized was its edible purple flowers and buds, which were prepared similar to artichokes. Sow seeds directly in deeply worked soil in early spring and harvest roots in late fall or early winter. Angelica, or Angelica archangelica, was considered both medicinal and culinary in medieval gardens. Growing up to 8 feet tall, its hollow stems were candied for confectionery, young flower stems harvested like celery, and leaves used to flavor dishes and drinks. Sow fresh seeds in fall as they quickly lose viability. This biennial produces a rosette the first year and impressive flowering stems in the second before setting seed and dying. If you've enjoyed exploring these medieval garden treasures, please subscribe to the Hydrohaven YouTube channel for more content on rediscovering traditional growing techniques and forgotten varieties. Share this guide with fellow gardeners interested in expanding beyond modern hybrids and experimenting with these historical crops. Leave a comment letting us know which of these vegetables you're most excited to try growing, or if you're already cultivating any of these forgotten gems. Remember, every heritage seed you grow helps preserve agricultural diversity for future generations, a truly meaningful contribution any gardener can make.